Hello, everybody. This is Nanette Kennedy from Humanities Team and Evolution Revolution. And hope everybody is doing as well as they can given the circumstances of the pandemic. And we're going to still keep gathering. And we were just offline trying to get some technological things fixed. And we started having a conversation. I said, I think this is too interesting not to record this. So I'm going to hand it back to Linda, and she can get everybody up to speed. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah, hi everybody. So just before we start reading, we were getting caught up on how everybody's doing in this world of pandemic quarantines and all that. And I started to make this comment, and Nanette wanted me to stop so we could get it on tape. But basically, I want everybody to remember that this is the shift that everybody that's in this oneness community, everybody on Humanities Team and in Evolution Revolution and all the other Barbara Marx's groups, Hubbard's groups, and Patricia Cota-Robles, all these groups of people and their followers, we've all known that we were going to create a world from our hearts based on love with compassionate policies, right? That's what we've all been working for 20, 30 years, many of us, maybe even longer. Well, the day is here, I think. I think, you know, we've been tempted in the short term to think that, oh, you know, a couple of weeks of quarantine and everything will be back to normal. And I think it's starting to dawn on people as we're hearing stories about 2 weeks, 4 weeks, things are shut down all the way till the beginning of May. Some places have shut down all the way till the end of May. Some cruise lines have canceled their trips that weren't scheduled for June or July. So nothing's getting back to normal anytime soon. And I think that this is the sign that this is the, for lack of a better word, the apocalypse that we've been waiting for, that will allow humanity to wake up finally to our oneness, to our togetherness, because this is going to touch everybody, even the people with a lot of money. It's going to touch them too. So, and even the people with a lot of money, some of them will die, or people that they know will die. So no one is going to go untouched by this pandemic. And I just want us all to, rather than focusing on what's wrong, as much as we can, let's focus on creating the new world that we've all been dreaming of all these years, because now's our opportunity. That's what I had to say.
I agree with what you said. And I was not much of a CNN watcher, but that's the only news that I get at this place I'm staying. And was amazed. They could be run by Humanities Team, because all they're talking about is we're in this together we are one. Deepak Chopra was on the night before last, and he was talking about, you know, some of the medical part of this because he's an MD, but he was also talking about the spirituality of it. And Kevin Bacon was on, I think it was last night, and he talked about how we were all connected and we needed to, and he mentioned that he didn't use the word shift, but he mentioned that, you know, this was what's going on was a long time coming, something like that. And I think, and everybody's been really good that I've listened to, and I don't listen to that much, but because I'm not much of a TV watcher, but it's interesting to see this unfold, where we're being asked by people that, you know, you never really thought of them as being a proponent of quote unquote oneness or unity or we movements or anything like that. And by golly, the people that are into it are coming out of the woodwork. And I have thought, Linda, several times, I can almost hear Barbara Marx Hubbard from the heavens talking to us, you know, and I can see her being jubilant about this. So I think we've got ways to go, but I think we need to keep in mind that this, you know what? I read something this morning that said, be grateful that you can't go anywhere for a couple of months or a couple of weeks, whatever it is. Be grateful that you can only go to the store during certain hours. Be great. And so it's turning around those negatives that you were talking about, Linda, to try to stay away from, but it's talking about them and turn those around to be positives. Because there's going to be, like you just said, Linda, everybody's going to be touched by this. No matter who you are, how much money you have, it just doesn't matter. Over. Somebody else wants to speak. Over.
I just tell everybody, I put in the chat books, I did a blog post the other day titled Loving the End of the World as We Know It. And I just put the link in the chat box for everybody if you want to read it. It's not very long. It's very short.
Thank you.
Minute or two read.
Thank you both, Linda and Annette. I absolutely agree with what you've said, and I think I feel jubilant, actually. I am absolutely grateful for the situation. And I just wanted to read to you. Neil tells us about the 7 tools of integration, Conversations with Book 4, Awaken the Species, which we have read in our group here, offers tools with which a person may more easily integrate the behaviors of highly evolved beings into their lives. And the 4th tool, tool number 3 is express gratitude. This is the most powerful tool you could be given. Gratitude can be a selected energy and not merely an autonomic response. When one actively chooses to be grateful for everything presenting itself into one's life, and I do mean everything, it sets up an energetic signature that washes over and impacts the energy of whatever is now arising. This can transmogrify, defined as to transform, especially in a surprising or magical manner. This can transmogrify the presentation itself, to say nothing of one's entire life. So I just wanted to share that with you. And on a personal note, I spoke with my my son's father-in-law, and who knows nothing of CWD or anything, and we couldn't embrace because we have to keep our 2 meters distance.
Yeah.
And he actually said to me, "Namaste." And
Wow.
I think, where did you hear that word? Where did you hear that word? How wonderful. I'm absolutely grateful, and I am absolutely jubilant. I know it's sad. It's going to be sad for a lot of people, but thank you, and thank you for letting me express that.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been, since the beginning of the week, when the first proverbial poop hit the fan, I was like, I can't wait to talk to everybody on Sunday. You know, it's like I just want to talk to the people on Sunday. And anyway, I couldn't agree with more. And if you wouldn't mind putting the page number of that in that book, Angela, because we have read the book as a group. But I'll never find it just flipping through pages.
You beat me to it, Annette. I was going to write that in the chat box.
Oh,
see, that's the problem, Angela. When you quote something really good, everyone wants it.
Yeah.
So if you go on, I'm not sure of the page, but the thing is, if you go on to, sorry, I've got my phone ringing. If I can just stop that off. If you go to CWG Connect, which I presume everyone's connected with,
Yep.
and go on there, and I forget where, and look at Neil's post, and there are just, I forget which one it is now. There's 16 differences between highly evolved beings and humans living in an unawakened state. If you press on those, you'll get the 7 tools of integration.
Okay, perfect.
Gosh, Angela, your phone ringing is just like a teeny tiny Big Ben.
Absolutely. It's actually my granddaughter wanted to FaceTime me. I'm trying to. I dropped my phone in the washing up bowl today, and I can't actually turn it down. Unfortunately.
Put it in the bag of rice.
Yeah, I did that.
You know, in the big picture of things, dropping your phone was nothing. And I think it also puts things, going back to what Linda was saying, it puts everything in this new light and perspective. And it's like, really, I was complaining about how long the line was at the cash register, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whenever that was, when I was getting some supplies for myself. And I remember saying, not out loud, because I'm not that, I won't put anybody else through my misery. But I remember standing there going, oh, would this woman please? She had every coupon known to God and man. And she was taking a long time to get her groceries settled, and I just wanted to get out of there. But I'm thinking back about that now, and I'm like, whatever. That was nothing. Well, anybody else want to say something before we get started reading?
Can I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. I just have a little thing that I was listening to Eckhart Tolle in Marvelous, and he said that there is a saying or a sort of a mantra that people would say in, I think, Zen Buddhism. I might be misquoting him now, but he said, thank you for everything, nothing to complain about. That's it.
That's
all out gratitude, isn't it?
yeah.
I mean, for heaven's sake, and Derby, at least he could have said everything to be delighted about.
Yeah.
Really? What do you think? It's kind of sad. Nothing to complain about. I mean, it's such a magnificent world, and we're so blessed, and there's, goodness all around, but to, come out and say nothing to complain about.
Yep.
I think it was a way of getting you into the present moment, because you may be in your mind, like Nanette was saying, you may be in mind thinking, I want to get out. So if you could remember this, it would bring you into the present. It would snap you into the present, into the presence of the being. That's it.
Oh, I see that you're digging someone out of a ditch. Okay, now I get it. What did you do, Nanette? What was your formula?
That was weird timing.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Nanette.
Well, that was weird timing. Can you hear me now? I'm not on mute.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what's going on. If you can't hear me, let's just go ahead and get started.
We can hear you, Nanette. Just want to know what you did, because I wasn't particularly inspired by Eckhart.
Well, let me see if I can top that. No, my thing was I just kind of let my shoulders drop and said to myself, in the big scheme of things, and this is before this took this real serious turn. I was just thinking, you know what? I'm lucky to I do the things I've done since I was a kid. I have my legs, I have my arms, I have my hair. I've got a nose, I've got lips, and just be grateful for head to toe. And in the time that you're doing that, you're not at all thinking about what you were thinking about before, because you're trying to remember at our age which order it's in: foot, foot knee or knee foot, you know. But anyway, anybody else want to contribute, or shall we get to reading?
I just want to say one thing about the Eckhart book, because I think the point, Shabana, is how much time do most of us spend complaining? A lot. So nothing to complain about is to turn off, you know, that particular programming that so many of us have and get to the being grateful for everything. That's all over. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Now you can read, Linda.
What
Okay.
page?
I
What
just want to
page?
say thank you to Angela for bringing up the idea of gratitude. Okay, so it's page 298, it's chapter 21.
Okay.
But thank you to Angela for bringing up the idea of gratitude, because that is the alchemy. That's the being in a grateful mind for everything, regardless of what it is the thing that will shift your energy and allow the universe to help supporting you. Otherwise, the energy of the universe, if we're in resistance to whatever's happening, the energy of the universe cannot engage with our energy. It's like bumping up against a wall because we're in resistance. We're not liking what's happening. So it's like we've put a wall up. And when you're grateful, and you put that wall down and you say, go ahead, give me more, because I'm grateful for what you've given me already. And the universe will resonate with that, and it will say, oh, look, here's somebody ready to receive. So it's really key, Angela. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Okay, so chapter 21 of Tomorrow's God, Our Greatest Spiritual Challenge. Page 298. Our kids and God. This is Neil. How about our children? What will be the impact of the new spirituality on them? Much will change in the life of your offspring. For one thing, they will no longer be ignored. Ignored? Who's ignoring them? Many adults. Children are being left to their own devices, relegated to their own little worlds, to their own little worlds, more and more and more of the time, as both parents work and involve themselves in other things. Children spend hours in front of screens, TV screens, computer screens, video game screens, movie screens. They are being quite literally screened out from life itself. This process of screening removes them from reality and places them into an imaginary world. All of this world would not be so bad if it were a world of their own imagination based on what you have taught them, but it's not. It is the world that exists in the imagination of the TV producers and the computer program designers and the video game creators and the movie makers and what they are teaching them. We do not want our children swimming around in this cesspool. You said that, I didn't. I have no judgment in the matter. But if you do not want them swimming around in this cesspool, then why are you? Neil, you're right, we are doing that. It gets the kids out of our hair, I guess, so we let them just jump in there and swim in there and drown in there. Yeah, and drown in there. Sometimes it is hours before they come up for air. I mean, they can spend a half a day in front of a screen. A half a day? Heck, an entire weekend. It's not like it was when I was a kid. We'd never want to stay in the house. That was the worst. We'd want to get outside and go over to a friend's house and find something to do. We'd build clubhouses out of cardboard and forts out of snow and games out of thin air and friendships that went on for years and memories that lasted a lifetime. Send a kid outside today and he doesn't know what to do with himself. It's gone. In many cases, that is true. The new spirituality will invite you to change all that. In the days of the new spirituality, adults will have the tools to give back to children the gift of their own imagination. Tomorrow's God will not scare children, granting into their very souls the fear of God. Tomorrow's God will teach children that fear and guilt are only enemies of humans. Love is all there really is, and that God is never, ever going to punish them. Tomorrow's God will teach children never to be afraid to fail, because failure does not exist in God's kingdom. Only effort exists, and effort is all that matters and all that counts, because every effort leads to an outcome that moves life itself forward, and forward is where life yearns to go. Tomorrow's God will teach children that there is no insufficiency, but that there is enough. There is enough of all the things that humans think they need to survive and to be happy. And so children do not have to continually strive to be the best or the fastest or the smartest, and they do not have to enter into ruthless competitions and make others wrong and push others out of the way in order to be one of the winners and avoid being one of the losers in life. Tomorrow's God will teach children that there are no losers. Only those who have lost their way. And tomorrow's God will teach children that no one will ever lose their way forever, but that all will one day find their way back home, back to love, back to the heart of God, and that what they might want to do for those who have lost their way is not laugh or judge or condemn, but extend a helping hand and show them a way back home. Tomorrow's God will teach children that they are one with God, and that they can act as God would act and be as God would be in the day-to-day living of their lives. And tomorrow's God will give parents the tools with which to teach that. Those tools will be the messages of the new spirituality. Oh my gosh, I'm so inspired. I'm sitting here almost crying. You may be crying at what you have done to your children in the past, but cry not at what you will do for them in the future, for the future is bright indeed. Well, the future you have laid out for us, but are you certain that all of this will happen? Do you want it to happen? Yes. Are you willing to work for it to happen? Yes. Then it will happen. And what about our schools? What will they look like? How will our embracing of tomorrow's God affect them, or will it? Oh, yes. There's nothing in life that will not be affected by humanity's embracing of tomorrow's God, and education will be very near the top of the list. Education is the single most tool that can be used in the transformation of humanity. Those who seize power and seek to hold on to it understand this very well, and that is why they do whatever they can to curtail or control education and learning among their people. The way to control a population is to control a population's mind, and the best way to do that is to begin with the young. Send them all to the same kind of school, teach them all the same kind of things, allow them to know of little else, and tell them that to even desire to expand their knowledge and to understand more is unacceptable. This is Neil. Most schools run by governments and religions have operated this way. They focus on rote memorization of data and the incessant inoculation of the mind with the insidious messages of our culture. God. Teachers emerging from the new spirituality will understand that asking children to memorize facts is asking them to recreate the past. But inviting children to explore concepts and ideas such as fairness, tolerance, equality, and honesty invites them to create a new future with their ideas, for their ideas may be different than yours. But that's what we're afraid of. Why? You're so proud of how things have been going? Do you actually want your past repeated by your children? Well, now that you put it that way, you act as though you do. In very few places does your society encourage new thinking. Not even with adults, to say nothing of children. No, you want the people of your species to follow the party line. There are to be no really serious questions and no significant deviations. Not in religion, that's for sure. Not in politics, if you hope to win an election. Not in economics, social systems. Not in education. Do not deviate from the beaten path. What will the new educational approach emerging from new spirituality be like? It'll deviate from the beaten path. It'll start by drawing spirituality into all other fields of study, submerging every subject matter in values exploration, so that the child is aware from the earliest days of her life that there is no disconnection between a person's most fundamental sacred beliefs and a person's daily behaviors. And that the same is true for all society. Everything in the child's experience will be contextualized as a spiritual experience at its core. By being immersed in such context, the student will learn to use spiritual tools to solve life's problems and to meet life's challenges. I wonder if our educators will ever acknowledge that most of these problems and challenges that today's kids are going to have to face will, in the end, have little or nothing to do with geometry, geography, biology, tolerance, and equality and honesty. They will be in the educational environment emerging from the new spirituality. Because education is so powerful, and because humanity has in the past done it either very ineffectively or extremely manipulatively, this is where the work of the new spirituality will begin. If the goal is to transform your species from a primitive society of beings, many of whom are selfish and violent, into an advanced civilization of beings, many of whom are caring, sharing, and loving, much of humanity will have to be re-educated. The first step in doing this will be to remove punishment from education forever. Remove punishment? Yes. In the days of the new spirituality, coercion and punishment will not be a part of the educational process. You're speaking of corporal punishment, right? Spanking a child after telling the child that he should never deliberately hurt others does not teach the child to be better. It only teaches him that physical violence is the way that people in control deal with problems. It models for the child the exact behavior you are asking the child not to demonstrate. But certainly there is a place for more benign forms of punishment, such as timeout or writing "I will not hit" 300 times. There is not. But how will teachers deal with unruly kids? There are times when punitive action is just the only way. Even top educators agree. That does not make it right. The child development experts are wrong? There is no such thing as right and wrong, and that is something your children would do well to learn, so they do not perpetuate the right-wrong paradigm when they grow up and run the world. There is no such thing as right and wrong. There is only what works and what doesn't work. given what it is you are trying to do. It doesn't work to criticize or punish a child if what you're trying to do is to get the child to alter her behavior, to say nothing about trying to help her develop a positive self-image, which, by the way, is the only space from which she can easily alter her behavior. Remember, you do not want the child to simply stop their behavior, but to alter it. There's a difference. Punishment, or the threat of it, can perhaps work once in a while in getting another to stop a certain behavior. But the behavior will start up again in some very new future, as parents and presidents have learned, because punishment merely halts behavior. It does nothing to change it. I have to think about that for a bit. There are many effective ways to interact with a child who is not creating for herself the experience that you know would be most beneficial. Criticism and punishment are not among them. What are these other effective ways? An entire book could be written on that subject alone. Mrs. Neal. Well, I have to say that there are some education experts who agree with you and who do not say punishment is sometimes the best and only last resort. Adele Farber and Elaine Maslish did write a book on this subject alone, and it is filled with priceless wisdom for teachers and parents. It's called How to Talk So Kids Can Learn at Home and in School. This little book is amazing, and it lists some very sound and workable alternatives to punishment or the threat of it, including, among others, pointing out to the offending children how he or she can be helpful, showing the child how to make amends, and letting the child experience the natural consequences of his or her behavior. The book explains how all that functions, how it really works to help the child alter behavior. And it does so in terms so simple as to turn everyone into an expert child psychologist. Children really can be inspired to be self-directed and self-disciplined. And I don't think that anyone in the world shows how more effectively than Farber and Maslish. I agree. I would also like to point out that this book, which truly is a remarkable work, was co-authored by Lisa Nyberg and Rosalind Templeton. The first, an award-winning teacher of 3rd and 4th graders, and the second, a teacher of future teachers. Their insights are very clear, and their on-the-nose observations are extremely insightful. So you agree then that punishment has no place in school or in the home or in God's kingdom? Yes, I do. And you were just playing devil's advocate before. I was doing what I said I would do at the start of this conversation. I was giving voice to what I assumed would be the thoughts of some others. You did a good job. Many people do believe that punishment is an appropriate and effective remedy for misbehavior. And many people do believe that God punishes human beings for not obeying his laws, and that human beings therefore have the moral authority and responsibility to do the same to each other. All of this is untrue, but your species believes many things about God and about life that are untrue, and that makes it just about impossible to live together in peace and harmony. Most of these beliefs were given to you when you were young, and many of you have passed them on to your children in precisely the same way they were passed on to you. Is it fair to say that schools have played a big role in all of this? It certainly is. In fact, that would be putting it mildly. Schools with punitive and coercive practices have, without a doubt, been the primary means of transferring limited and therefore inaccurate views to your offspring. And you have actually created on purpose learning institutions that teach children about life from a singular and restricted point of view. Some parochial schools, yeshivas and madras, are extreme examples of this. Madrasa, for example, teaches children about life in an Islamic context only. The curriculum is most such schools, the curriculum in most such schools is almost always severely limited. It would certainly include Arabic and memorization of the Quran, and it might also include Islamic law, study of the Hadith and the history of Islam, but it would probably not include much else. Little or nothing would be taught of history of the rest of the world, nor is there much, if any, exposure to the point of view of other cultures. For this reason, schools such as this could be be described as tools of indoctrination. Many consider it wonderful to go to such a school and become a hafaz, one who has memorized the entire Quran word for word. As has already been noted, memorization is a key tool in most schools in the world today, private or public. That is because it is the objective of most schools to teach humanity's offspring to duplicate the lives of their parents. The best way to ensure this outcome is to have children memorize the same things their parents memorized. Then they will come from the same knowledge and hold the same thoughts and exhibit the same behavior. Because those who embrace tomorrow's God will want to assist humanity in releasing its false beliefs about God and about life, the emphasis in future schools will not be on getting children to duplicate, but to create. Duplication is one thing, creation is another. In the days of the new spirituality, the focus on education will be creation. Creation education, this will be called, and it will be the biggest single difference between yesterday's schools and tomorrow's. What will this be like? What will this be about? It will be about showing young people who they really are. It will be about opening them to the Creator within. It will be about allowing them to see and believe in themselves as the source of their experience and the authority over their lives. It will be about returning them to their own inner wisdom and encouraging them to fashion their own innermost truth. It will be about showing them specifically how to do this. It will be different from the old school because it will be about awakening children's minds, not deadening them, freeing children's minds, not shackling them, opening children's minds, not closing them. It will be about expanding their minds, not contracting them, releasing their minds, not imprisoning them. It will be most important about connecting their minds to their souls, connecting their bodies to their minds, and experiencing all three as one. And ultimately experiencing everything as one. And yourself, hater. It is not something that is currently taught in many schools. Many, I'm sure it's not taught in any. Creation education will be centered around the following major messages that the new spirituality will bring to and everything in the universe, including God. All things are part of one living system. 2, because you are one with God, you have the power to create what you wish to experience in your life. 3, the way you create is by what you think, say, and do. 4, it is not possible to make a mistake in the process of creation, and failure is an illusion. Everything that you create is perfect just as it is, including you. 5. When you create, you are fulfilling the purpose of your life, because creating is how you grow and evolve, and that is what you and all living things are on earth to do. 6. Life is your greatest teacher, and it has built-in consequences, but never punishment. Punishment is not a part of God's plan and has no place in God's kingdom. Learning was always meant to be easy. It is actually a process of remembering that your soul has always known. This kind of learning will be joyful when you use the experience that you are now having to remember as much as you can about life. Then you will remember what you need to remember, when you need to remember it, to make life work in the future. Try to never harm. 7. Try to never harm another person, place, or thing in any way, but only to help others and love them as best you can, especially when they have made a mistake or have done something wrong. If you can do this, you will create a friend of just about everyone you know, and when you need one, you will never be without one. 8. There is enough for everyone. It takes very little to be happy, and the fastest way to create happiness for yourself is to create happiness for another. 9. Your very best friend is life itself, because it never ends. When the portion of your life that you spend on earth is over, there will be no judgment day, no condemnation, and no punishment, but simply an opportunity for you to review all the thoughts, words, and actions of your life and decide whether, as you go on to other adventures, you wish to choose again when confronted with certain circumstances. Choice is the process by which you evolve and ultimately experience who you really are. These are the 9 components of the core curriculum of the first years of creation education. The messages become more sophisticated as the child moves on. That's wonderful, but what about the 3 R's? Ah, yes, reconciliation, recreation, and reunification. Oh, no, I was talking about reading, writing, and arithmetic. Well, there you go again, stuck in your old model. The 3 R's that you would teach your children about are not nearly as important as the 3 R's that tomorrow's God will invite you to teach your children about. You mean our children don't have to learn to read, write, and work with numbers? Oh, of course they do, but only as tools with which they can create reconciliation, recreation, and reunification. Those are the 3 R's with which both you and your children can create a new tomorrow. In the days of the new spirituality, the priority of education will no longer be the dissemination of facts, but the increasing of sensitivity and awareness and understanding and compassion and acceptance and celebration of and appreciation of for the awe and wonder of life. The late child psychologist, Dr. Chaim Ginott, believed, this is Neil speaking, the late child psychologist, Dr. Chaim Ginott, believed that every teacher should be first a teacher of humanity and then a teacher of a subject. That came from that fabulous book by Farber and Maslich. Is that what you are saying here? Exactly. And I am saying that in creation education, that idea will be formalized as part of its basic approach. Okay, so tell me about the new 3 R's. And I am going to stop here because this goes on and on for quite some time more.
Well, does anybody have any quick questions they want to ask before we do the meditation?
Hi. Well, it's interesting. I'm listening to today to the reading and stuff, and I'm so effective at the moment with this pandemic thing and the effect of how it's changing reality. And I'm listening to the stuff that we've been talking about, and it all seems so different of how if we're totally in control of our lives and everything they're saying. It's like here we're being told in a way to go sit at home and be alone and don't be around anybody. I don't know I don't know how to emotionally comprise myself around what's happening, especially looking at my life where I have to be apart from certain people. I can't see certain people that I want to see, or I have to be so careful about who I get around. I don't know. So I wanted to open this up, since this is something that we're all dealing with right now, and how this relates to tomorrow's God, and how I can have a different way to hold this, or to perceive this, or to deal with this. Like the only person, I date a man who's much younger than me, and his friends and stuff, they're not as concerned with this. And I think that nobody's free of it, and we don't know who's a carrier anyway. So if I can open the discussion a little bit to that with the time we have, with whatever time we have for this, I would love to hear from somebody else about a better way to deal with this, how to not lose your life around this, or anything that anybody can say that would help as far as being able to be a part of society at this point.
So you'll want to listen to the recording after Nanette posts it, because we started late and we had that discussion at the beginning. One of the pieces that we talked about was being grateful. So the short answer, Anne, is number one, this is the shift that all the people in the oneness community have been thinking was going to come. We're going to shift into some kind of oneness society. What's going to make it happen? We're pretty much all thinking that this is it. We're here. And so making sure that rather than focusing on what's wrong, we hold a positive, always be positive and grateful for what's being presented, because that's what keeps the flow of the universe coming to you, as opposed to being in resistance and unhappy about what's happening. Right? What's happening is a gift. It's a gift of God.
How does that affect being safe around other people, or how does that affect that aspect right now?
I just wanted to say, I'm not in response to what you just said, Anne, but the other thing I feel is to understand that life has changed as we know it. We're not going. Life is not going to be the same again, and acceptance of that is the way forward.
Right.
And to your point, I just want to say that, kind of repeating something that Linda already said, that you can't go see these people, so you turn that around into thank you. I could use some alone time, and that's just an example. Say, I could use some time to watch an old movie and polish my silver, whatever it is you do, but turn it into opportunity rather than to look at it as now I can't see certain friends and you just need to. And I'm really making it simplified, but I think if that's where you start and you say, because I'm still in this facility, and chances are I'm going to be here for probably another 3 to 4 months, because everything's closed, and to get out of this place, you have to go through all these federal hoops and jumps.
Oh, I know.
And so I'm probably going to be here for another 4 months. So I'm trying to say
I know
myself, you know,
Daryl's place is on lockdown and I can't see him.
no, so
My mom
I'm on lockdown. You know,
Yeah.
it's so I guess what I'm saying is I'm saying, okay, thank you. I do not need to worry about driving right now. I do not need to worry about waiting in these, you know, depression-like lines at the grocery stores. And so I'm just trying to be thankful. And then when I receive something, which I'm always receiving something, I just say, you know, thank you. Anybody else want to chime in real quick before we go to the meditation?
I do. So the other thing, and this is, you know, this because I am sort of on the bleeding edge of all of this. The other thing that this situation is gifting us with is the time to develop our own personal skills. So if we know that everything is an illusion, and if we know that everything is made of the same stuff, then we can use that as a tool to help us become more in tune with the energy that's really here, right? If everything's an illusion, then what's real? And we can spend time getting real, both with ourselves and with our capabilities. So we can be grateful for the technology that allows us to FaceTime with people and Zoom with people. We can start to be using that more in relationships where we don't currently use it, right? But people now that we can't get to and we can't see in person, we can start using the technology. And then the next step is we learn how to make our bodies do it. So everybody has had the experience of the phone rings and you know who's on the other line, because we're all one. But we think that those things, those moments of insight or whatever are like flukes, but they're not. They are what we would be if we were in our bodies and tuned the way we started out. Let's put it that way. When we came into form originally, we could do all those things. We could walk on water. We could manifest what we needed. We had all the skills that Jesus had. And we all have the skills that Jesus has right now, but we're not using them. And so let's use this alone time to work on developing those skills. Over.
Very, very well put. That's beautiful, Linda. May I do the meditation, Lynette? Okay. Here we are, tomorrow's God, thanking you that we are grateful. We are grateful to be grateful and to recognize that each one of us is a co-creator with you, that the new world is coming about because of the lockdown, whether it is in a hospital or a city or self-isolation in a home because we've been traveling, whatever it is, this alone time is the opportunity to welcome the new world, where instead of depending on technology, we become the true alchemists who are turning lead into gold. Thank you for letting us meditate here now on the perfection of everything, because we're all one and we're working together to co-create a world that is far, far better than anything we could have ever imagined. Amen. We thank you, tomorrow's God, for the new world which is forming right here, right now, where there is peace and equality, compassion and unity. Those are the qualities we need for a world that works for everyone. Amen. Okay, everyone.
Thank you, Shabana.
You're
And
welcome.
I just want to say real quickly, I wonder if Neil is writing today's God. Really, he could take tomorrow's God and just change some tenses around, and
Yep.
it could be
Good
today's
idea.
God.
Except the transition is pretty rough, as Anne has just said. She wants to see Daryl, and you were in the lineup. Like, it's a bump in the road.
And we just need to learn how to be thankful for it.
But like you said, there's a lot of tension. Yes,
And the
that's
other
the
thing
key
that
door.
we also need to just be aware of, not, you know, it is that we haven't hit the bottom yet. Like, it's gonna get a lot worse. There are, and the youth on this planet, like Anne was saying, you know, she's dating somebody younger and they're not so concerned. Well, I just spoke to somebody who dates a guy in Switzerland. And in Switzerland, they're not taking it seriously. And he's still having to go to work. So he's riding on the train or a trolley or something. But what he's describing to her is that there are young people who, if they see an old person, they actually run up to them and try to like get close to them and get in their space, because the attitude of the young people is they want the old people to die from this, because they see us as the fault of all the things that are wrong on the planet and in everybody's countries. They see the old people as being the people that created the situation. And I know Mary has seen also some of the posts in our own country where there are young people who are just like, you know, they're almost, they're sort of using the Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake. They want to eat us. They're like, they want the old people to die, and they joke about, seriously joke about eating us as their revenge for what we've done to the planet. So it's going to get a lot worse, and all the more need for all of us to be able to be strong in our convictions of a new God and a new tomorrow, a new today.
I wanted to say something really quick in here, and this was just like 2 days ago. I don't even know what I posted, but it was something about, you know, we kind of got to go with this flow or whatever. And my 25-year-old son, the youngest of my 3 kids, wrote back to me on Facebook and he said, "Thank you for raising me the way you did, Mom." That was worth all, just because he's not as freaked out as he thinks he's not nearly as flipped out as he'd be had I not raised him with the joking, the sarcasm, the game playing, where he said, "Well, if you get a message that we're all going to be dead the next day, we'll just stand in line and say, are you going to get there before I will?" So anyway, there's just things to think about, and they can be kind of far out thoughts, but to have my son do that really meant a lot to me. Over. Alrighty.
I was going to say,
Go ahead.
because I just say, there is some truth in that, Linda, what you say, that we are the creators of what's going on in the world. And with regard to children, because you hear people say, "Oh, the children of today, they don't know their phone and they have this and what have you." But we are the people that raise these children, so we are the creators of our world. So I just wanted to say that. Thanks, and thank you all.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, let's all just hang close together and let's plan on, obviously we're just going to keep doing our group, and we will get together and talk about this next week. And I'm not opposed to making some of this a little bit about our conversations that we have together on this program. Anybody else?
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Anne's situation. I mean, we all got situations, really. What I understand is you follow how you're feeling. Actually, what happened, what Eckhart explains is that you have a thought and an emotion happens because of the thought, and that brings about the fear. And that's because we've become out of presence. We're not present because you can't be in the past. We don't exist anywhere in the past or the future. These are the illusions. But the presence, to be present, there's no fear. And he also talks about something in the Bible where he said, if you build your house if you built your house well and you fasten to the rock, the winds and the rain and everything will come, but you will stay steadfast. And if you've built it on sand, you will, when the adversity comes, destruction will happen. And what he explains the meaning of that is that your house is your body. This is our home, and this is how we get to know ourselves, to go within when we are challenged, to find out who we are. It's never too late to try and anchor in the depths of the being. And if you are anchored in conceptual thinking and everyday thinking, and you've not gone any deeper, it's not too late. But that is the house built on sand. And this is the time we are given now is a retreat in order to be able to go within to the essence and reconnect and restore our anchoring in this place. Okay, thanks.
That's beautiful. And thank you.
I agree with what Shabana just said. And I think we can, it's too bad we can't just sit here and do this for another hour, but I'm sure we might have those hours ahead of us that we can use easily. So anyway, I love you all, and I'm glad we're here together in this, and we'll just take care of each other through our hearts and our
Okay.
minds.
Thank you, everyone.
And we'll see each other next week.
Thank you, Nanette.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Love you all.
Love
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thank you.
I love you all.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye, Mary.
Bye.
Love you.
Love you too, Linda.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.